We're learning Vihine Porach Mateh Aharon Tov Shin Lamed Gimel Rin Ois Vov, having explained the connection between the Ruchnis and the Gashmis, that Hashem has decided on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur that there's a hashpah that's going to come to a person throughout the year and all the details of what his life's going to be. However, there's a process every day that we have to daven every day in order for the hashpah to come down. Why should it be? Why should it be so that there's such a hashpah, a davening every day? Because it's coming through the whole Seder Shalshus. So he explained, according to a mimer from the Alter Rebbe, as you think an idea out and come to a conclusion, you have to do something and do an action as a result of it. From the thinking to the doing, it doesn't flow automatically, and you might rethink it when it comes actually in relation to doing. And so too the process goes through from machshava in an action plan to speaking about it to doing. So too we say l'mayla, that on Rosh Hashanah, and so we develop this picture that you have a spiritual structure which is extremely powerful and strong. We think of Ruchnis as something wishy-washy. One could think so, but it's not. There's a very strong scaffolding and structure, and not just scaffolding. It's a very alive flow of energy coming from above to below. A little bit similar, like you look at an ocean, and all you see on the top of the ocean is the water. We don't get to see from above the life that's below. So you can think, well, there might be something below in the ocean, in an extremely complex, powerful ecosystem under the surface of the water, but we don't see it. In a similar way, but even stronger, is the flow of divine creative energy into our world. There's a huge worlds of structure that there is in the spiritual worlds coming down into our world. So that's the and that matches how we are as people, because we're created in the image of above. What's the image above? So we have our core personality, seichel and midas, and then we've got how we interact with the world around in thought, speech, and action. The core of the first world that's identified as a world, that's created as a world, as Hashem's wants to bring an existence into being, as the world of Atzilus, which matches the inner personality, our seichel and midas. And as a side note, our seichel and midas is how we function. However, there's a deeper aspect to who we are, and that's just being alive. It's called your neshama, or your chiddush b'nefesh, or the essence of the soul, life itself. And then you have our reflections where we're functioning personalities of seichel and midas, our value system, and how we interact with, how we feel about things around us. So that's all an outer layer. And then you've got even more external machshava d'bramaisa. In the worlds, the inner personality, so to speak, the inner core is the world of Atzilus, which is Hashem's activated will to have the beginning of flow of energy into our limited universe. Then you have the world of Bria, Yitzir, and Asiyah. And so the way within us the dynamics work, from the resolution of understanding something should be, to come into an action plan, into words, and then to doing, matches the similar dynamics as it is above, that you have on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, is the ksiv v'chasima toiva, for every yid, for the end, for the universe, that you have the flow, but that's what it is in Atzilus. And then it has to come from that into Elam Hazeh. There's a whole system. So we're holding in Ois Vov, in the middle of the Ois. That the line begins with the Rosh Hashanah Machshava d'Baramaisa. Second word on the line. It's 5 lines down. Sheyimshuch shefe gashmi, that the signing and sealing for good that happens on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that there should be brought down all the things we need in Gashmis, who bedugmas hachlotas the seichel sheroi hadovel asoisei. That's similar to a conclusion, a resolution in understanding in seichel that is proper to do so. Shamais now, so therefore shahamais k'meishahu bachlotas seichel, that the action as it is part of the understanding, you concluded it has to be done, but it stays as what I call an internal committee meeting. It just says, yeah, it's got to be done. That's the world of action, but it's in the area of the seichel. Is kolul baseichel? It's part of the seichel. It's part of the idea. And in order for this to come down into our world of action, and he adds in the square brackets specifically Olam Hazeh Gashmi, because Olam Asiyah has a Ruchnistic counterpart also. We live in the lowest of the worlds called Olam Hazeh Hagashmi, and there's a different dimension, just deeper than our world, which is shaken off the physical, or before the physical has been attached onto it. It's also the world of Asiyah. However, so in order for it to come down into our world in something practical, the loaf of bread or the apple, the banana, is first it has to come into the world of machshava. We're saying is that Hashem's flow from the inner core, from Atzilus, comes into the world of machshava, called Bria. And then in the Olam Hadibur, then in the world of Dibur, which is the world of Yetzirah. And then v'hamshach malchus Atzilus lebria, and so the hamshach from malchus of Atzilus into the world of bria. Al derze mebria liyitzira, and so too from bria to Yetzirah. And then mikol shkein miyitzira lesiyah. How much more so from Yetzirah into Asiyah is al yedei Yaakov. It comes through. There's a barriers. In which areas shnei inyanim anal, the things that we mentioned above canal. As we described earlier, the number one, it's not an automatic flow from one level to the next. And second of all, when it comes to being drawn down to the next level, not necessarily it will come down. So if this is the process. Therefore, we can explain. Therefore, this that Hashem said that the person will get stuff, a flow of what he needs on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, it will come down, but it might stay, it might get blocked and stay in the world of the Ruchnis. Until it'll stay in Gan Eden. And he'll get it after the neshama leaves the world. After the neshama leaves, then he'll pick it up on the way up. It'll be in Gan Eden for him. So Av Shehad Din, so it brings out also that we are in an active process and connection to the Eibishter. It's not that we're running around in Olam Hazeh and spirituality and Hashem is some way out there, wherever the way out there is. A different dimension somewhere. No, it's not the case. Where is this Elokus? It's an active process that's we're involved in. It's a little bit but different. Fish live in the water. They can't go out of the water. They don't know there's land. We live in Elokus. We live in godliness. We are part of a godly experience, except it's covered over by the hiddenness of the Gashmis. But that doesn't take away that Havai Hu Elikim, what we are living in is the generative energy of the universe. Until it comes and shows up, this is the process. So we're an active process, an active participant, and in how we connect to Hashem. He says, Af shehadin de Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim hu b'negei lashbos gashmis, that even though the din in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is in relation to us getting gashmis, how can it get locked in on a higher world? Because in the world of Etzilus, and similar to in Bria and Yetzirah, Gam inyanim gashmim shedonim aleim hamkulim baruchnis. Even the physical things that we're judged on are part of the spiritual worlds there. Bedugma, similar to hamaiser shebachlotas haseichel, similar to when you make up to do something that as it is in the idea that you concluded. You did conclude to do something, but that's just where it stays. Similarly, the physical items, as they've been decided upon in the spiritual worlds, are part of that spiritual world. So too, when it comes to machshava and dibur, that the action is included within the seichel, also in the levels of machshava and dibur. Therefore, every day there's a din of mishpat in which way it should come down. It's an active process. We're being created all the time. And so there's a flow coming out of the general din of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur into every single moment. And how is it going to come down? It's an energy in process. And even though the judgment on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is in all details, and that's because the inyanim the asiyah, as they are in their source in the tzilus, al derech zeh b'bri in Yesira, heimufshatim mitzir gashmi. They're without the physical limitation, without the physical action. Mufshatim means it's removed from the word poshet. It's unclothed from the physical definition. Tzir means form and picture, so it's formless. It doesn't have the physical form. Is l'chein, therefore, until it comes down from the seichel, the conclusion in seichel, to machshava and then dibur ma'aser, or from the world of Etzilus to Bri Yitzir Nesir, is yesh din mishpat be'eza oifen titzayir hashpah v'gashmis. There's a din mishpat in how this should be formatted, this hashpah that comes down in gashmis, because in the spiritual worlds it doesn't have doesn't have the same format as it has in the gashmis. So this describes the system. We'll continue in Ois Zion how that this is a regular flow, but there sometimes can be a flow coming from above to below that things don't have the two blockages. First of all, it's automatic, and there's no reevaluation. We will find such an example within the Nefesh Adam and people, and we'll see how that applies also in Ruchnis as well.